So, my name is Sian Sutherland. I'm co-founder of A Plastic Planet. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a massive plastic sinner, which is going to make sense when I tell you a little bit about what I've been up to for the last 10 years. And first, what I want to do is pull us back. I don't know if you can see this screen with me wandering around. I want to pull us back. Has anybody seen some of these images from the James Webb telescope? They're unbelievable. What we're seeing here is these are the pillars of creation. This is where stars are born. And what's so amazing is being able to see so far into space. But then, of course, what it also does is allows us to look back at what we call planet home and realize the absolute rarity of this special blue and green marble that hangs in the middle of this inky blackness. But as you probably know, here we are, COP30 is happening right now in Mellon. Our planet is in trouble. We have really pushed nature to the absolute brink. So when we're talking about women's health and we're talking about planetary health, of course we have to consider everything else that we share our beautiful planet with. And only in 100 years we have lost 90% of the large fish of the ocean. I don't know if anybody remembers when you used to drive down the motorway and you get to the end and your windscreen will be just covered with bugs. And it doesn't do that anymore. And this is the reason why. So this stat is not some distant island. This is the European stat. We have lost 80% of our winged insects in only the last 50 years. And then these vital little tiny creatures of the ocean, phytoplankton, that are responsible for taking 30% of the CO2 out of the air every single day. This incredible migration that happens within the ocean. We have lost 50% of them. So, I'm here to look at all of that and our health through a very different lens, and it's the lens of plastic. Because when you look at all of that, you may well be thinking, well, let's just fix all of that, the biodiversity loss, the global warming. Why on earth is plastic important? So my challenge really, my provocation to you all is this. I see plastic, the reason that I, as this serial entrepreneur, massive plastic sinner, stand in front of you now, is because I see it at the very center of our polycrisis. And I don't know how many of you can see some of these things, the biodiversity loss that we've just discussed, hyperconsumption. There is no way fast fashion can exist without plastic. 70% of all our clothing is now made out of plastic. Inequality and exploitation. I don't know if everybody knows that we export 60% of our plastic waste from the UK alone, often to developing countries. So it's a human rights issue. Of course, it's a climate crisis issue. The plastics industry alone, as a country, is the 5th biggest carbon dioxide greenhouse gas emitter in the world. So the 5th biggest as a country. So I see plastic as something that sits right in the middle. But what I want to talk to you a little bit more about today is its impact on human health, and particularly on women and children. This is the scale of the problem. You may well think, when Blue Planet 2 happened, now nearly 8 years ago, and every single industry came out with their pact and their pledge, and we all thought, great, maybe plastic's being fixed now, because people have made commitments. Not a single organization has hit their 2025 plastic reduction goals. And now, nobody cares. Now everybody is getting away with it. People are quite happily saying, we're not going to do it because it's just too hard. Our industry is just too wedded to plastic. So we are currently pumping out 68 million bottles every single hour. That's just for water. That's 600 billion every single year. Goes halfway to the sun. Every piece of plastic that we've ever made, unless it's been burnt, and we know what burning plastic does, still exists on the planet today. So when I found out about this, as my massive plastic sinner running a skincare brand, responsible for, I can't tell you how many millions of bottles I've pumped out into the environment without really thinking about it. And then I was asked to advise the Hong Kong board who are making the first documentary feature about the problem of plastic and the ocean before Blue Planet 2. So I had this very, very rapid epiphany of realizing, talking to the marine scientists and the doctors, of this problem that our addiction to this incredible but toxic and indestructible material is causing. So I co-founded an organization because I couldn't leave the plastic thing alone, and I wondered, is there a way of doing something, creating a different kind of organization that is pro-business? Because obviously I believe in the power of business. That's my world. It's not the world of charity. but pro-solution as well, because I know wherever there is change, there is opportunity. So this is our goal, to ignite and inspire the world to turn off the plastic tap. And we do it in two ways. And I simplify it by calling them the cattle prod and the lightning rod. And the cattle prod is, how do we galvanize industry and governments to protect us and the planet from plastic? How can we accelerate this? And the way that we're doing that right now is through probably the most terrifying four-letter word in industry, which is risk. And the big Achilles heel of plastic, of big oil, because of course plastic is plan B for the fossil fuel industry, is the impact on human health. It's easy for us to think, because plastic has been around so long. I mean, most of you in the audience here probably cannot remember a time without plastic, but it's actually a 50-year-old problem. It was invented in 1907. So it's a very recent thing. And it's the other reason that I'm so obsessed by it, is that it's so recent, it's so tangible. It's not like carbon. I don't know, I can't see it, I can't feel it. I have no idea what my carbon footprint is. It's just not tangible to me. But there is not a person in the world, really, who doesn't have a little bit of guilt about what we have done with our addiction to plastic. And it is not on the periodic table. It's not like aluminium or copper or cobalt or any of these elements and minerals. No, it is a mixture of chemicals. And many of those chemicals are toxic. In fact, of the 16,000 chemicals that we know are used to make plastic, with all its amazing qualities like this clicker or the foam in my trainer soles, all of those things, of those 16,000, only 4,000 have been tested for human health impact, and almost all of them are considered toxic for humans. So somehow, this material that is omnipresent in absolutely everything in our lives, the carpet here, the stage here, the paint on the walls, the material of our chairs, everything in our lives that we are breathing in, that we are drinking, that we are eating, has escaped all global regulation. We're very, very good at making chemicals. Every 1.4 minutes, we register a new chemical in the lab with the hazmat suits on, and then we release it into the environment. How did we ever think this was going to end well? Well, this is some of the impact that the endocrine-disrupting chemicals, and many of you will know about your endocrine system. It's the signaling system for your entire body. It tells you how to be. It regulates your hormones. It tells you how to grow. It tells you how to live. So if you disrupt your endocrine system, you are disrupting everything. And where plastic and those chemicals are having a massive impact is male fertility. So male fertility is now down 53%. Any gentleman sitting here, I'm sorry to say, there is not a pair of testicles in the land that doesn't have microplastics in them now. They are everywhere. So that 53%, the health scientists tell me that by the year 2043, men will not be able to reproduce in the old-fashioned way. So we are creating a scenario, which we've all seen The Handmaid's Tale. We're creating that scenario, but we're doing it knowingly. And then we move to the impact on women, because women are disproportionately, that was obviously about men, but women are disproportionately impacted by endocrine-disrupting chemicals. The phthalates, the plasticizers, all of those things. And when we talk about skincare, 99% of skincare has plastic in it. And it's not the scrubby bits, it's the thickeners, it's the acrylates. I know, I used to make that stuff. It's the stuff that gives it a great feel. So it just gives you an idea of how omnipresent it is. And what do we do with these plastic skincare products? We put them on our skin. Our biggest detoxification system that we have, the largest organ of our body. So breast cancer, obviously fertility, so many things, heart attacks, strokes, cognitive disorders, all being impacted adversely. Is anybody else puzzled by why more young people are getting bowel cancer? Anybody become aware of that? I don't know, does anybody here know somebody who is using IVF to conceive? Yeah. When I had my sons, I knew one person. Now it's completely normal. It's not normal. We have created a toxic world. Don't worry, it's going to get happier. But first, let me tell you about babies. So one of our big campaigns next year, we are going to be calling on further regulation because we need plastic-free babies. From the minute a baby is conceived, there is plastic coming through to them and the chemicals through the placenta. There is plastic in babies' brains. Any of you who have kids, even all of us, there is 7 grams of plastic in your brain now. When is enough enough? Is it 15 grams? When are we going to get a little bit more outraged that somehow we still go to the supermarket and we are still force-fed plastic? So for me, the impact on babies is so shocking that our babies are now born pre-polluted. We have to do something about this. And then when they are born, of course, everything in a child's life is plastic, from the toys that they get, to the keyboards that they're given, to the little teddy bears that they're given. What's the first thing you give a newborn? Some cushy little teddy bear made out of polyester filled with plastic foam. So all of these things, we can rethink. So I like to think of the plastic crisis not as a crisis, but perhaps we can reframe it and think of it as a gift, that kind of badoof, to wake us all up to this toxic soup that we have created for all of us to live in. And we talk a lot, and I don't know if any of you are within industries, and you talk about circularity. And we talk about how can we create more circular systems and circular products. And we try and shoehorn plastic into a circular system, which you never will, because of course it comes from oil, which is highly unsustainable as a feedstock, apart from all the chemicals. So I'd like to propose a different kind of circularity. And this is simply Mother Nature. There is no waste in Mother Nature. Everything becomes the nutrient for the next stage of growth. So imagine a system where all the things that we made that give us the lives that we love. Imagine a system where we borrowed those nutrients from nature, but we didn't toxify them. We didn't lace them with heavy chemicals and heavy metals and all of those things, so that when they go back to nature, they can go back still as nutrients. And the good news is that I have promised you is it's already possible. There is a mantra that we apply to all the materials that we work with, which is start well, stay clean, and end well. Because of course you can't end well if you don't start well. And if you don't keep it clean in the middle, it's definitely not going to end well. And it's a really simple little exercise to apply to all of these materials, because as an entrepreneur, I know wherever there is going to be change, there's going to be massive opportunity. And I am fortunate enough now, for the last 5 or 6 years, to work really closely with the materials innovators who are creating a completely different way of how we make the stuff we love. And we've been building this plastic-free land at a few different events recently. I don't know if anybody was at Blue Earth Summit a couple of months ago, and we built plastic-free land because seeing is believing, and we need to bring these things to people so that they really understand that they are market ready. These solutions are out there, because I work with governments and industry to try and help them with solutions to stop using plastic. And what I have to prove every single time is that market-ready, scalable solutions at a viable price are available. So we built the world's first solutions platform. It's hosted on plasticfree.com. And Plastic Freeland is this physical manifestation of some of those materials. Because everything we do from here on in must do this. It's not enough to be sustainable. We have to regenerate nature. We have to repair it. Because we've just seen from those stats at the beginning, we have been punching nature so hard on the nose for so many years, she's now punching back. So I'm going to show you just a few of the materials that we feature in Plastic Freeland that get me really excited. And the first one is Shellworks. And if some of you may know the brand Wildsmith or Hakel's or Wild Deodorant. So these guys are making a material that looks and feels and behaves like plastic, but it's made out of fermented microbes. So when it is finished, it will entirely degenerate down into soil healthily. Where are we now? Which you can kind of see there. And this doesn't need industrial composting or new waste management, any of those things. If this disappears in nature, which everything eventually ends up, then it will disappear entirely healthily. I talked about those little cutchy toys that we give our young ones, teddy bears. Imagine if every single teddy bear was made out of this material, plant-based fur, Because a lot of people now are thinking, oh, I don't want to wear animal fur anymore. So they wear faux fur, which is just plastic that you're just breathing in. So please don't wear it anymore. This is a company who are making 100% plant-based, where it, again, can go back to nature really healthily, working with really cool brands, because everything we have to talk about elevating it's the design and the feel of it, because of course, we don't want products that are green and hairy. We don't want knitted armpit, hairy sandal solutions. We want things that are beautiful, that we buy with our heart and our eyes, and then we qualify with our heads. This is the world's first nutrient sneaker, as worn by Prince William at the Earthshot Prize. And this is a sneaker that is entirely plant-derived, from the leather to the base to the foam inside, every part of it, so that it can disappear into nature. And the tests that they have run show that the soil is healthier after the sneaker degenerates into it than it was before. So this is what we're talking about, of the exciting potentials. This is the company we're working with in Singapore. They spent 10 years taking apple out of plastic packaging, and then they realized that isn't going to be enough. That's not going to solve the plastic crisis. We need to tackle some of these 600 billion plastic bottles every year. So they have created this, which is the world's first fiber bottle. So it's made out of agricultural waste. It's cellulosic fiber. Cellulose is the most abundant material on planet Earth. And it's a bottle that, with the right kind of biocoating inside, can replace a huge amount of those plastic bottles. So this, I'm hoping you will see come to market next year. Because we've got to stop thinking that all of this is inevitable. How sad it is that we've made this toxic plastic crisis that is impacting our children and our babies in such a way. We have to remember that we created this future, and we can create another future. So my provocation to you is, when people say, well, why is plastic important? Why are you focused on that? It's because it is that gateway into this polycrisis. But we need to move faster. Because right now, it's just all about pledges and pacts and promises, and so little real investment moving into the right channels, into those kind of brands that I've just shown you there. We've got to stop talking about the problems. I'm so bored of talking about the plastic problem. We know, anyone who doesn't know about the plastic problem, where have they been? Under a rock. So we have to move on and now just do nothing but focus on solutions, because there's nothing more negative than talking about the problem all of the time. And for me, the exciting thing about the plastic crisis being that gateway in is I know it will also be the gateway out. Because the change that we will see in the systems that we adopt, of the circularity, of the lack of single use, of the materials, of the nutrient-based technology that we will invent, particularly when we have AI and biomimicry and all of these things, it's such an exciting time for us. We just need to remember that plastic is last century's material, it's last century's economy, and we need to embrace and run towards something that is so much healthier for us. And I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes, which is this: on another day, another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. Thank you.